Warning, this video is extremely opinionated compared to my normal content. It also contains discussion and criticism of Jon and Sansa, so if you can't handle that, you might want to back out right now. Hey, it's Kim McKay. In this video, we're going to be discussing why Sansa betrayed Jon Snow. Now, in my latest review for episode 9 of Game of Thrones season 6, one of the most heated topics of debate was this Sansa dilemma. Now, the biggest arguments defending Sansa is that she didn't know that the Vale army was going to arrive. She wrote a letter and she never received anything back, so she was really just had to go with what she had. She didn't know if the Vale was ever going to come help. And she knew that win or lose, Ramsay would kill Rickon. Okay, before we tackle both of those questions, let's have a look at the entire scenario and actually see why people believe Sansa did betray him in the first place. So if you remember, before the fight they had this comeback meeting where they talk about their tactics and their strategy to be able to defeat Ramsay, and after that, Jon and Sansa have the conversation. Now Jon brings up the fact that they need to strike now or before the winter comes and they get caught in the snow and other things like that, and Sansa keeps pressuring that he doesn't know Ramsay and he doesn't have enough men. Now a lot of people saying that, oh, he should have listened to Sansa. If he listened to Sansa, he wouldn't have put in that trap, they would have worked out fine. But he did listen to Sansa in that conversation.
All right, tell me. What should we do? How do we get Rickon back?
And she's like, I don't know. I don't know how to do these battle plans and stuff. Even though that was the prime time to tell him exactly how he would get more men. The Vale army. So back to that question about her not knowing if the Vale army would arrive in time or not. It does not matter. Either way, she should have told Jon. If Jon knew the Vale army was coming, even if it was an unknown period of time when they arrived, he could make his plans around that. He could send scouts and envoys to see where they're coming, he could hold back his attack to a better time, and a whole bunch more. Also, he would know there were reinforcements coming, and so he could properly bait out Ramsay's army without going full in, smashing his troops, losing Rickon, and everything. So we go back to that Rickon dilemma, where it's like, either way, if Ramsay won or lost, he would kill Rickon. He was too much of a threat. But that's just simply not true. Now, it wouldn't be easy to save Rickon. I'm not saying that they should send in some kind of attack force to bring him out. All that thought, planning of battle and bringing him out that way would never work. It had to be negotiation. Now, lucky for us, we had ample opportunity to do this, because we had that conversation between Ramsay and Jon. He wasted it away by saying this whole, oh, let's do a single trial combat to avoid a battle. Normally, that situation, you choose the bigger side, and the losers, what you can see from numbers and from who's got the right positions, and you're like, well, you're probably going to lose this, and I know you're going to fight to the death if we kill you anyway, and we don't want this battle. So, here's some terms that is less bad than losing, and if you accept them, then we avoid this huge loss of life. Now, this was a tough decision for them in the show, because they need to get Rickon back, they need to get Winterfell back, and all these other objectives, and they couldn't really meet in any of the middle ground. This was because Ramsay had the bigger army, the fortress, and they had no chance of stopping him. But they did with the Vale armies. Now, that had to do a risky move here. I'm not saying it would be straightforward or easy, but if they exposed the Vale army and said, we have this Vale army, it's like tens of thousands of warriors, untouched by war, tons of knights, led by great commanders, we can destroy you. You can reason with Ramsay, you can get him to release Rickon alive, you can get him to just take up his old position as Lord of the Dreadfort, and they can become Wardens of the North or Kings of the North or whatever, and these kind of terms could be negotiated out. Doesn't mean he would take it, but it is a way that he can get Rickon back. But Sansa didn't make that decision. She decided not to tell Jon about the Vale army, not to give him the information he needed to be able to fight a battle that he desperately needed everything he could to be able to win. Instead, she held back and said, no, let's just use Jon's army as bait to draw Ramsay out of Winterfell so the Vales can just clean up after half his army's been slaughtered to death, and he and Rickon could have possibly both died, just Rickon and no dying, and then she would claim Winterfell with the support of Peter Baelish. So with Sansa's hindsight of her knowing about the Vale, Jon's army, and Ramsay's character, she made a decision between two things. One, she could trust Jon, she could trust him and his ability to be able to lead and to be able to keep level-headed and take out Ramsay the way that they best could, by exposing the Vale army, working together, coordinating with them, meeting up with them, coming in, doing either a siege, which might not actually work that well, or negotiations with Ramsay, which is the better option, to be able to get Rickon back, to be able to win and get everything over with, but she would kind of lose her revenge and she wouldn't be able to have a certain path to victory. Also, with that scenario, she didn't really understand or completely have enough experience with Jon to be able to put that in, and when we saw the actual battle, we also saw that his level-headedness in the battle could have been a downside as well. Or she could do another option, which is not to tell Jon about the veil, to be able to meet up with Peter Baelish beforehand in the battle, sit up on a hill, watch everything happen, watch Jon overcommit and get manipulated by Ramsay, even though she didn't want that to fully happen. I can't blame that on her. She warned him about Ramsay and he failed in that aspect, but still his army was pulled into a terrible trap, surrounded, and they were all going to get slaughtered. Half of them died anyway, doesn't even matter, and that just put Peter Baelish in the perfect scenario to sweep in, take out all those troops, take out Ramsay, and get Winterfell with a clean path to victory. She lost Ramsay, she lost Jon's army, and possibly could have lost Jon as well, but she chose to make that clear, revengeful, and path to victory over trusting in her family and her brothers. Now at this point, Sansa isn't a dark, evil, manipulative person like Peter Baelish. She still has heart to her, she still has family to her, and she was just forced in this desperate situation where she had to choose a path, and she went with one where she knew was going to turn out with a positive outcome for her. So I'm not saying Sansa's a complete utter bitch that ruined Jon and she's terrible, let's go hate her. I'm saying she betrayed Jon, and that was a choice she made. The same kind of choice Peter Baelish made when he betrayed Ned because Ned wasn't cooperating well. The same decision Varys made when Tyrion was put on trial. It was all down to Sansa's choice. Thanks for watching. Let's make this video really interesting, and I want you guys to tell me what you would do in Sansa's decision. Personally, I'd actually do what she did, even though I made this entire video how she betrayed Jon. Betraying Jon was probably the right decision to make in this scenario. Personally, for myself, I don't really care about the people that she was fighting for. I know that Jon didn't have the level-headed skills that he needed to do to win that fight, and I know that Ramsay's not going to negotiate well because he's a terrible fucking person. Or maybe this entire video was wrong, and the real reason was... bitches be crazy.